Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily podcast. Today, I want to talk about the world of open banking, APIs, embedded finance, the role of technology. Because in financial services, open banking allows for financial data to be shared between banks and third-party service providers through the use of application programming interfaces, APIs. But traditionally, banks have kept customer financial data within their own closed systems. So today I want to talk about the value of open banking APIs when it comes to democratizing lending and helping borrowers find lenders, and also talk about the opportunities for embedded finance, how it will develop over the next 5 years, and who is set to benefit the most. And today's guest is the perfect person to speak with about this. Her name is Emma Steeley. She was appointed the CEO in July of 2022 of Freedom Finance, which was a leading UK digital lending marketplace and embedded financial platform. But they've recently rebranded to Arrow, spelled A-R-O. So I want to learn more about the journey that they've been on, and of course the journey that the entire industry will be going on in 2024 and beyond. But I've probably revealed far too much already, so buckle up and hold on tight, because no matter where you are in the world right now, I'm going to be taking your ears all the way to Warwick here in the UK to speak with Emma about all this and much more. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell everyone listening a little about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, hi everyone, great to be here. And my name's Emma Steeley. I'm the CEO of Arrow. I've spent the last 17 years working in the consumer finance space and then in the fintech data space. I sold my last company that was called AccountScore, which was an open banking business, to Equifax in February of 2021. So really had great experience of using data and understanding what the data-led approach in the fintech space was. So when I had the opportunity to join Freedom as it was, it seemed like a great place for me to actually go and deploy a data-led strategy to scale the organization.
Fantastic. Well, it's a pleasure having you on the show today. And Arrow, spelled A-R-O, you recently rebranded from Freedom Finance. So I feel there's a bit of a story there. Can you tell the listeners a little bit more about the rebrand and Arrow's ambitions?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I joined the business, it was very much on a trajectory where they were focused on a direct-to-consumer proposition. But actually, when I dug in and had a look at it, what we could actually really see is there were some incredible partner relationships that we had in the B2B space, but nobody really knew about it. So it was initially a program about how do we shake up and wake up the brand that was Freedom. And we decided that actually the best thing we could do is completely have a full change of the brand. But we didn't want it to be just about a new name and a logo. For us, it was very much about a transformation and a renewed sense of purpose. So to me, Arrow is very much about moving forwards in the spirit of innovation, adaptability and growth. It's really about symbolizing our commitment on meeting our customers' needs better than anyone else. And we talk about, as at Arrow, having precision and power, pushing boundaries, challenging conventions, and really embracing change. And I think fundamentally for us, actually, we're in that, as you know, a rapidly sort of changing and dynamic world, and just giving customers the same old isn't really an option anymore. So by using the data we have, reimagining our brand, we felt that it gave us a real opportunity to position ourselves at the forefront of sort of customer-focused innovation. So that was really what went behind the Arrow rebrand, and what we're looking to do to take that opportunity to grow and scale the business moving forwards.
And just to get a better understanding of the exact problem that you're solving here, can you expand on some of the maybe pitfalls of the current scoring models that listeners might be aware of, and how at Arrow you're helping to maybe revolutionize the lending industry by offering something a little different?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, what we know is actually for the masses, generic credit scoring absolutely works, right? The bureaus are the bureaus for a reason. The banks are very good at doing what they do, and they make money doing what they're doing. So the financial services industry isn't a broken industry, and for the masses it works. But actually, we see our about 200,000 plus customers coming through our platform every single month. And there are customers that we were seeing that actually, when we looked at the data, we felt that they were good customers with strong affordability and actually decent scores as well. But they weren't getting the offers from the lenders that we would expect for them to see. And whether it's because they are a tenant that has moved in the last 12 months, there are negative connotations that can be within people's credit risk policies, within lenders' credit risk policies, in and around whether people are tenants or if they are thin file. And actually what we're seeing now is the data needs to be personal. It exists, right? The open APIs are there for us to make the decisioning personal, but actually the consumer really needs to be informed about what their real options are. And so that's what we've tried to do now. So we've taken all of the data we have from the application form data, the credit bureau data, open banking data, behavioral data that we see within our environment. And what we've done is we've then modeled that and created machine learning models so that we can actually match the customer. It's called personal credit matching. And so we're showing the customer now, based on all of that data, where they're most likely to get that credit from. Because the hardest thing for us as a site where you actually then go and click through into the lender's environment is once that customer is gone, if they don't get the credit that they're looking for, then that's a disappointing experience for them. And so if they're told they're 100% eligible, subject to final checks, they are still expecting you're still expecting a high proportion of those customers to actually convert through. So what we've done is by creating personal credit matching, we are showing this is your recommended product that we believe is the best option for you. And that's because we're using all of the data available to deliver a personal credit solution as opposed to just looking at the masses.
And as this is a daily tech podcast, one of the things I try and do every day is get people thinking differently about the power of technology and the way that it impacts everything in our life, our work, and even world. So with that in mind, in what ways can technology contribute to enhancing financial inclusion and indeed our financial literacy too?
Yeah, absolutely. It really is that combination of the incredible data and APIs that are available today, and then bringing it into your platform to make a robust decisioning process. Technology is always going to move so much more quickly than the financial institutions. We know that, we understand that, and we respect that. And so what it's about is actually, once you've implemented the technology, it's actually about working strategically with those financial institutions and showing them with the data how they can move forward. And you're taking, as much as I talk about making decisions personal, you're taking the personal and emotional elements out of that process, because you're evidencing with data, this is how much stronger with the technology deployments we have, your business can actually be. And so it's about marrying the new technologies with the old school ways and showing how they can blend together to really drive that financial inclusion and literacy in the space.
And of course, open banking was introduced a few years ago now. And from the outside looking in, from my viewpoint, it's almost fair to say that uptake has been slow. I mean, would you agree with that? And if you do, why are businesses so nervous about open banking?
Oh, it's such a challenge. I've been in open banking since before open banking existed, when it was back in the days of screen scraping. And I sit there, you're fully frustrated about how is this taking so long? We're over half a decade in, nearly 6 years in from the launch. And I was one of the first 10 AISPs approved in that January 2018. So yeah, it's something that feels very personal to me. But first of all, you have the consent model. And we know that explicit consent is something globally that is not going away, but it creates friction. There is absolute friction in the journey, and there has to be a value exchange for the customer. So if the customer feels that they will get a product that they otherwise would not get, or would get an improved rate that they by sharing their data, they will be inclined to do so. So I think those elements on the customer sharing side are very strong. Then you have to look at the lender side. This is consented data. It takes a significant period of time to build up enough data to then understand, analyze that data, and know how to use it in your models. And then there is, quite candidly, the lender fear. If I see all of this information, what open banking has been doing really up until the last 12 months, in a lot of cases, it's been helping lenders to easily say no to customers. And the whole point of open banking, as I see it, is to enable financial inclusion and how to say yes to more customers more of the time. Certainly around, just because you are thin on bureau data does not mean you are thin on bank transaction data. And how do you bring that into the journey and give the comfort to the lenders in and around conduct risk on affordability? And it's a genuine issue for the lenders. They want to see the data. I believe they want to say yes to more customers more of the time. But until they understand that data, it is a real challenge. And so, that is one thing that I think that's really held back the progress of open banking. I think open banking really does only work in a commercial setting. There's been some fantastic, personal finance manager solutions, but at the same time, a customer doesn't necessarily want to be told, do you know what, Emma, you've been spending too much money on coffee every week. You should be doing this. Well, you're removing joy from my life because maybe coffee is my joy. And so, you've got those sides of things as well. But so when there is a real commercial opportunity to make open banking work, it's about giving those lenders comfort in and around conduct risk on affordability and other parameters of what they're going to see, and giving them the time to learn to use the data properly.
And you mentioned value there a couple of times. What would you say the value is of open banking APIs, especially when it comes to democratizing lending and helping borrowers?
Oh, I think it's incredible.
Yeah.
When I first sat down and really started looking at bank transaction data, back in the beginning of 2016, when we founded Discount Score, it was really, you saw the power of that data instantly. And with the more open APIs there are, as long as that consumer feels that their data is safe, that really helps to give that power to the consumer to say, this is my data, it belongs to me, and I have the right to share it. And I think it really then opens up entirely new areas that hadn't, were not thought of historically. And so I think, there is a huge opportunity with the data. It is just really at the stage now where you're starting to see lenders go, yes, we can understand how to use this data to say yes now. And I think it's the direction of travel is definitely what we're going to see as we continue through in the market.
And what would you say are the opportunities as we look towards the future for embedded finance? And how do you think that will develop over the next 5 years? I understand that's an impossible question to ask with the speed of technological change that's going on at the moment. I mean, last year or this year, nobody saw what OpenAI and ChatGPT would do. But what do you see around opportunities for embedded finance?
I think it's incredible seeing how big brands are now able to embrace financial services and deliver embedded finance. I think it's a really exciting place for us to be. It will also only develop more and more, right? So where you will see larger brands saying, right, okay, I want to be in the financial services space. And we're seeing it, right, with Apple. I mean, it's well publicized on how, they are now massive in the payment space, despite only being in it for mere months.
Yeah.
It's huge what they're doing over in the US market as well. And so, I see all of these big brands that now have the opportunity to play in the financial services space. And it's about what the consumer expects, right? I don't think the consumer expects everything in life just to be straight through. Certainly not when taking financial services into consideration. They They want comfort that this is here and I can achieve this. It's not a flippant transaction by any means when they're thinking about applying for credit. So, it's about learning, understanding, having the right amount of sort of friction in place for the consumer to do that. But it opens up an entire world of non-banking institutions or non-financial services institutions having the ability to serve their customers in ways that were not even imaginable even 2 years ago.
And again, if I ask you to further look at 2024, it's a matter of weeks away now. Are there any trends that you're monitoring closely, or you think trends that will emerge next year for the credit industry?
Well, obviously this year for the credit industry has been a tough year. There's no qualms about that at all. We are now going right how it's all about adding in additional data sets to provide that stability and comfort in the industry. So I'm not expecting next year to be a radical year in financial services, notwithstanding everything else. There's elections that are going to be going on. So I think it's going to be a stable year and a year where we will still see growth in the financial services industry. But what I do expect to see is improved uses of data and people and organizations being more open to absorbing additional data sets to understand more about their customers. So I think it's going to be more a year of stability and understanding and using those data sets to do that, as opposed to, right, we're going to go crazy and just say open banking is going to be across the board on everything. I don't think that is going to be the case. Stable growth, absorbing in more data.
Cannot thank you enough for shining a light on the role of technology in the digital lending marketplace and embedded finance, etc. But before I let you go, I want to ask you to leave everyone listening with one final gift over the holiday season, and that is a book that means something to you or that you would recommend that we can add to our virtual bookshelf. What book would you like to leave everyone listening with, and why?
Well, quite a maybe slightly a random book, actually. And it's a book called Never Finished by David Goggins. David Goggins is an ex-Navy SEAL ultra runner, and he talks a lot in it around mental strength. So I like to run, which is why I bought it in the first place. But then as a CEO of a fintech organization, it really got me to start thinking about life very differently. It talks about who you would have in your foxhole with you when you've got to push through and continue to grow and scale your business. And so, yes, for me, it's all about David Goggins and his book, Never Finished.
It's a cracker. I'm listening to it on Audible at the moment, about halfway through.
With the podcast, on Audible, you have the podcast at the end of each chapter, which is mega. I agree.
Love it. And for anyone listening that would like to carry on the conversation you started today, maybe find out more information about Arrow or even talk with you or your team, where would you like to point everyone listening?
Yeah, absolutely. Our website is arrow.co.uk, and we have a partners section on there. But otherwise, I am on LinkedIn under Emma Steeley. Please do feel free to get in touch. I'm always really excited and open to engaging with peers in the community about how we can help to use technology to drive financial services forwards.
Well, a huge thank you for coming on here today, shining a light on the value of open banking APIs, especially when it comes to democratizing lending and helping borrowers find lenders, and also the opportunities for embedded finance, how it will develop over the next 5 years. I think we're going to have to get you back on next year and carry this conversation on. I suspect there'll be a lot of big changes as well. But more than anything, just thank you for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been great, Neil. Thank you.
Again, huge thank you to Emma for really bringing this topic to life today. And I think her passion and enthusiasm for the industry really came across. And again, so important to learn about the role of technology in the industry, the value of open banking APIs, especially when it comes to democratizing lending and also learning more about the opportunities for embedded finance, how it will develop in the future, and some of the trends to look out for next year. With organisations facing an ever-evolving threat landscape, I'm getting a lot of questions lately on how safe is it to equip your employees with Mac? And a new podcast called We Got Your Mac is discussing why organisations may want to deploy Apple Mac's platform at scale, and also unpack some of the considerations from doing so, because it isn't just about technology, but about the business transformation the technology can drive. So it's a great podcast. It explores the compelling reasons businesses embrace Mac deployment, from enhancing the employee experience to boosting productivity and redefining company image. Ultimately, the podcast discusses helpful insights into the Mac operating system and hardware security, and a more comprehensive overview of the distinct elements in the Mac security ecosystem. A great listen. So check that out wherever you find your podcast, or just visit wegotyourmac.com. But if you work in the industry, I'd love to hear more from you too. So please email me now, techblogwriter@outlook.com, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, just @NeilCHughes. We'll keep this conversation going. But that's it for today. So thank you for listening as always, and until next time, don't be a stranger.